So right now the sentencing is scheduled for September 18th. The judge has said that that is the date that he is going to stick to. However, as we know, right now there is an outstanding motion which is set to be decided just 2 days before that. And so there is a chance, probably a good chance, that his sentencing will get delayed. The Supreme Court's immunity decision is playing the greatest role right now in the potential for there being a delay. And the reason is because this court, the trial court, has to decide whether or not the Supreme Court's decision in any way affects the jury's decision in the New York State court. And so because of that, we have to see what the judge in this court does.
Throughout the course of this prosecution and throughout the course of the trial, Judge Marchand has really displayed a very no-nonsense approach, and he has taken the position on the record that the political consequences of this case are not for him to consider. In other words, he has viewed this case as he would any other criminal case. And the fact that the defendant here is somebody who is the Republican nominee for president does not factor into his decision-making. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he allows the defense team to seek an adjournment of the sentencing, which is based primarily on the question that it is too close to the election.
So there's a couple reasons why I think the sentencing will be delayed. The first is because now we've received the submission from the prosecutor's office, and the prosecutor's office has not opposed a delay, right? So Trump has already gotten over one hurdle, which is having the prosecutor's office really almost agree with him, although they're deferring to the court. In essence, they're agreeing with his request because they're not opposing it. The other reason that I think there's a good chance that there will be a delay is because the court cannot proceed with the sentencing, should not proceed with the sentencing, if there are any outstanding issues. And given the decision that the court is expected to make on September 16th, it's very likely that there will be outstanding issues. And so because of that, the parties should be able to fully litigate, both sides should be able to fully litigate those issues before they go into sentencing.
So I think it's likely that Judge Marchand is going to agree with the Manhattan DA's office that the conduct for which the former president was convicted all involve conduct before he was president, and therefore is not protected by that Supreme Court immunity decision. And to the extent there was any testimony about things that happened after he became president or in connection with the campaign, that really ultimately did not determine the outcome of the case.
The 12 everyday jurors vowed to make a decision based on the evidence and the law, and the evidence and the law alone. Their deliberations led them to a unanimous conclusion beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Donald J. Trump, is guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree to conceal a scheme to corrupt the 2016 election.
Well, I think what we're seeing from the Manhattan DA is an attempt to not appear too political with this prosecution. They're really trying to straddle the line. So they're not agreeing with the Trump defense team that the sentencing should be delayed, but they're also not taking a position that it should proceed as scheduled on September 18th. They're leaving it up to the judge to make it appear that it's not really a political decision, it's a judicial decision. Another option for Judge Marchand is to split the baby here in the sense that he could rule on the immunity issue on September 16th, let that go forward, and then give the Trump defense team some time to appeal it. and only move the sentencing by a week or two so that it will still go forward before the election, but it takes away that issue from the Trump defense team that they don't have adequate time to appeal that decision and to try to argue that the Court of Appeals should look at what Judge Marchand did before the sentencing as opposed to after it.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone.
It's very hard to say whether or not we'll get a sentence before Election Day. What I think is likely is that if the court does delay the sentencing, the court will not delay the sentencing because of any argument based in potential election interference. Rather, the court may say, we will delay the sentencing so that Mr. Trump can exercise his right to have an interlocutory appeal and have that appeal decided. Whether that timing then lines up with the election or not would not be the basis for the court's decision to delay.
Election Day, we're going to tell her that we've had enough. We said, Kamala, you are a horrible vice president. You're going to be a horrible president. We're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of there. You're fired.